It's another Wednesday night at 8 p.m. for the Relationship Gumbo Podcast Live. I welcome you guys back. And if you're new, you're in for a treat tonight. We got a special episode tonight. It's just me tonight, no guests, and we're going to get it in like we normally do. So when you come in, make sure that you share and invite this with your friends and family, especially those of us who you have, and it's really all of us. They have, sometimes you have issues in your relationships, or you don't even really know, what your contribution to the issues may be. And sometimes it's just really about looking inside yourself. So I wanted to start a series of shows that kind of help us look at the inner parts of us and what we could be contributing to those things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 30 seconds. I'm going to make sure that we are broadcasting, because we are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope at the same time. On the other side of that, we're going to get right into it. I'm not going to keep you long, but it's definitely going to be impactful. And I just want you guys to stay around for a little while. Let me know you're here. Say hello. Let me know where you're chiming in from, and we're going to get to it. So stand by.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the Relationship Gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship Gumbo, ayy.
All right, guys, we're about to get started. Just keep in mind that we are doing a live podcast. So that means that the audio from this is going to go straight up to the podcast. You can get that anywhere you can get a podcast. So I'm going to show you where you can get it from. 1 second here. So you can pretty much go anywhere. Apple, Spotify, Google. You can even do Pandora, Alexa, iHeartRadio. It's everywhere. So check that out. It's a lot of great episodes that you can tune into, and you in for a treat. Please binge it, because it's going to be informative, if not for you, for someone that you know and love. And what we're going to do normally, if you're new here, is I will pause for 3 seconds. I'm going to start the podcast, and on the other end of the podcast, I'm going to pause for another 3 seconds, so that I have a space to chop it up and put the audio up for you guys no later than tomorrow, so you can listen to it in your car or wherever you need to listen to it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little journey into who you are, right? A lot of us very seldom do that. So stand by. Welcome to another episode of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. My name is Derek Jones, and I am your host. I am a certified life coach, an engineer, a strategist, and a mental health advocate. And tonight we have a special episode. We're going to talk about what your attachment style is in your relationships. And this is something that a lot of us very seldom think about, because we're always blaming somebody else, right? We're always thinking about what the other person is doing to us and not the energy that we bring into the relationship. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down into the 4 different types of attachment styles that we have as adults in our relationships. And what you're going to find is once you are starting to listen to these things, you're going to find yourself in one of these. Everybody fits in one of these categories. And the questions that you're going to need to ask yourself is me having this attachment style helpful or hurtful to myself and or the relationship that I'm in or aspire to be in? So please keep that in mind, because you're going to get some good information tonight. We're not going to dig too deep, because, I want to do a deep dive on all of this stuff. I want to create some courses for you guys. I'm working on that very diligently, but I want you guys to understand this, because it's very important. So what we're going to do first is we're going to talk about the first attachment style. We're going to get right into it. We're not wasting any time. The first attachment style is called the secure attachment style. And I'm going to give you kind of like a short definition, but I'm also going to give you some real life scenarios so that you can understand. And keep in mind, guys, I picked these things on purpose, and I believe at least 3 out of the 4 I've been at some point in my life, right? So a person that has a secure attachment style, they have what we call a high emotional intelligence. They know how to tell their partner how they feel. They're very secure in the relationship. They're very trusting in their partner, and they move about every day in their relationship knowing that if something goes wrong, they can bring it to their partner. They trust that their partner can bring it to them, and they move about, and both sides of the equation are happy. It doesn't mean that things are perfect, but when things aren't perfect, they have enough intelligence enough to know that I feel a way and I need to let my partner know, so that we don't have to continue to kind of sit in the tumultuousness of the anger and the resentment and all of that kind of stuff, right? A person that's secure in how they attach to another person, this is like what most of us would want to aspire to, but very, very seldom do it, right? And me personally, I would say, because I've kind of floated amongst probably all four of these attachment styles, at this stage of my life, I tend to hang more into this category, because now I'm really not afraid to share my emotions. And we're going to talk about the opposite, the other attachment styles that kind of sway away from this, where a lot of people, fall into. It's where you want to be, but because we let our emotions dictate things, sometimes we're afraid to speak out because we're afraid that the other partner may not get it, or those type of things, and you're not secure in knowing that and trusting your partner with your emotions, right? So a secure person knows that there's a balance. There's a balance between work and life, right? They know how important their relationship is against everything else that they have going on, so they're always going to nurture that and make sure that it's good. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to spend a little bit more time on other ones, because some of the other ones tend to be a little more dysfunctional, but this is kind of where you aspire to be. And I'm going to pause here and say this particular topic tonight is important because it's about being self-aware. It's about understanding who you are. So like, if you are in a situation where you've had bad relationship over bad relationship over bad relationship, and you've never taken the time to do the inner work in order to understand, what your attachment style is, what your love language is, all of these things play a part in how you choose your mate and how you attach to your mate, how you love your mate. And sometimes it seems like it's a lot, right? I need to know my love language and I need to know my attachment style. Who does that, right? You just want things to be organic. But if you're having problems all the time, it's time to take a step back and try to figure out why. And a lot of times you're going to need a second party or a third party to say, hey, this is why. A lot of us, we have a little ego. We think we can fix it ourselves. And a lot of times we can't. So tonight is really about understanding, because some of you will see something or hear something tonight and say, yeah, that's me. I think I need to work on that. And if you do, you may need help, or you may be able to fix it yourself. So we're going to get into the next attachment style, which is called the anxious preoccupied attachment style. And this type of person is, and I want to make sure, because we're live, I want to make sure that if any of you have any questions or comments, I will happily share them tonight. I just want to kind of make this really organic, but I want you guys to understand and learn this stuff, because it's not like, I grew up knowing this stuff. This is stuff that I learned because I needed to understand myself better. And if you understand yourself better, then you're more informed when you go into a relationship. And it also helps you understand who not to be with. I need y'all to catch that. If you have a great insight on who you are, it lets you know who to discard when they come in your life. A lot of us haven't learned that yet. We still keep on keeping on with the trauma and the hurt and all of that. And they're like, well, I don't understand why they picking me. You got to know you to understand why they're picking you. Understand that. We got some good shows coming up. I please implore you to stay connected. I got some good stuff coming for y'all. So the anxious preoccupied. And I would be, it happens to both men and women, but I would say more women. These are the people who fantasize about what the relationship should be. You got a fantasy relationship in your head, and you get into a relationship making the assumption that that fantasy is going to be fulfilled by that other person. And so you get real anxious when it doesn't look like the way that you fantasized about it. And you get mad. And then you want to try to make it steer towards the fantasy, right? So this is, a lot of times it ends up being dysfunctional behavior. And it also a lot of times pushes the other partner away because your fantasy doesn't account for them being an individual. It makes them need to be a part of the puzzle that you set up before you met them, right? And when you fantasize about things so much and you overanalyze the situation, you trying to figure out why it's not working, why isn't it going towards your fantasy, you get a little anxious. Like, what am I doing wrong? What's going on? I don't understand. You get real demanding. You get real clingy. Oh my God, I don't understand why they're not falling into my fantasy of what the relationship should be. Right? When I was young, so I told you I'm gonna give y'all some context. I'm a guy saying this, right? When I was young, I want to say like maybe between 18 and maybe 20, early 20s, I was this person. I had a fantasy of what the relationship was going to be. I was a late bloomer. I was like, it's going to be fantastic. All I got to do is just be nice and be good and do this and do that. And I realized in real life, it doesn't work that way. But I had a fantasy of what I wanted it to be. I think a lot of us do. The problem becomes is when your fantasy becomes so overbearing that it affects your relationship in a negative way. And then you have to look at how you react to that person not being a part of a fantasy, not that you two created, but that you have in your mind. So I need you guys to really catch that. Your fantasy can dictate how someone else moves. You can have some qualifiers and things that you may want and things that you want to see. But I use the word fantasy because a fantasy isn't always real. It's not realistic. The expectations aren't realistic. And this comes in the form sometimes of, when people have these lists of qualifiers of who their mate should be, and it's like 300 things long. It's not realistic. It's a fantasy person that you're making up, this image of perfection. It's not fair. It's definitely not fair, especially now. People are way more complex than they've ever been, and you want to make that person fit into a box. It's almost impossible. So you got to think about that when you are inside of a relationship. Are you putting your unfair fairy tale on that other person? And do you get anxious when that person deviates from something that you've, made up in your head? That's why they call it anxious. You get real clingy. Oh, they're getting ready to leave. I can't. No, they got to come over here, because if they don't, and sometimes people do some destructive things in order for this to be true, right? You'll do things like go flirt with other people, not because you're trying to leave, but because you're hoping they get jealous and they come back in and come into the fold. And so the fantasy looks like it's supposed to look like. So you got to really understand who you are inside in order for you to understand. And so I'm also going to pause and put this in too. Just because you may be this way or one of these other things that I'm going to do, the other two attachment styles I'm going to do, doesn't mean you always have to stay there, right? It's this word I like to use called growth. And I also say once you can give a thing a name, then you understand where you need to go from there. But if you just kind of going through life and a lot of people say these things, well, that's just how I am, so they just gonna have to deal with it. No, they don't. You do. You have the ability to change and grow and learn, right? That's why I'm here tonight. I want you guys to, when I find things that are like an epiphany for me, like, oh my God, I'm like this, I want you guys to understand it. Because I tend to do a little more research than the normal human being, but I like to bring it to you, put it in layman's terms so you can understand what it is, so you'll know the areas that you may need to work on, right? And if not, you can holler at your coach. I'm gonna always be here to help you. Just holler at me and we can get it going. But because we don't always have all the answers. So in closing on this one, being anxious about your fairy tale relationship, you can find somebody that fits that, and maybe you'll be happy and everything's cool. But in the chance that someone doesn't fit that fairy tale, if you feel like the little nervous anxiety because it's not going the way that the perfect picture that you plan, then you gotta look at you. You gotta look at the inside of you and look at what the expectations you're putting on the person. Is that fair? Okay, so we're gonna close that one down. Let me check these comments. Michelle Ford says knowing another's love language within a relationship is major. So let's really, like, I'm gonna spend like literally 3 seconds on the whole love language thing. I'm gonna do possibly a love language episode, but I'm really gonna do a boot camp, like in a webinar kind of style, or an online course about communication and how we communicate, and all of this stuff kind of falls under the umbrella of that. And I just want to do a deep dive, but like with my twist, right? Because I'm the emotion whisperer, right? In the emotion hacker. I want you guys to feel and understand what this feels like, and I want you guys to really heal from the things that you've done. And communication is the biggest thing in relationships that can make it rise or fall, and that's why this is important. So if I don't go deep enough for you, it's because it's not a part of the class. So I'm doing this on purpose so that you at least get like a little nudge, right? So that you can say, you know what, I think I need to take a step back. And I was really like anxious to have somebody in my life, but maybe I'm not ready. I need to look at these things real quick, right? So we're going to move from the anxious preoccupied to the third one, which is called a dismissive avoidant person. And every last one of us knows this type of person. A lot of men fall into this, and a lot of narcissists fall into this too. A dismissive avoidant attachment style is when you are in a relationship, but you are not emotionally available in the relationship. I'm gonna say that one more time. For those of you in the cheap seats up at the top, this is a person who is not emotionally available, but they're in a relationship anyway. These people tend to behave in a way that lacks empathy for the other person. This person tends to do things to keep them away from being emotionally attached. A lot of workaholics fit into this, right? You don't have a balance of, work-life balance or work-love balance. Or whatever it is that you're doing to not have to engage with the other partner emotionally. This person thrives on the fact that they're independent. They're independent of the other partner, but yet they're still in a relationship. Okay. Sounds really complex, doesn't it? Why would they be in a relationship if they're not emotionally available? Some people enjoy the fact of saying that they're in one, but when it comes to actually sharing those most intimate parts of you with another person, you're afraid to do it. You don't want to show your emotion because maybe you see it as a sign of weakness. Maybe you've detached yourself from your emotions because of some past traumas. And now you've evolved into a person that doesn't even want to show it. So now you have a partner who complains that you're not emotionally available. Then you get mad. And then you start to put, this is kind of like, sometimes this, I don't want to call it a narcissistic trait, but narcissists fall under this umbrella. They're going to tell you, we good. It's all right. You making up stuff. I'm about to go back to work. Handle that. And then the other person, a lot of times people, and I've known people like this, and you probably have too, where you have two people that are dismissive avoidant, right? And this is what those relationships sound like, because I meet a lot of people like this. You'll have like one partner that's, they may do something like drive a truck, right? Long distances, and they barely home, or they work a lot and they fly to different countries and all this other kind of stuff. And the other person that's sitting at home is like, I'm cool with that. That's why we work. Excuse me. That's why we work, because we're not together and we never really spend time. And that's just how our relationship is. And that doesn't, excuse me, that doesn't necessarily equate to happiness on the inside. But some people will say we work because we don't have to be emotional with each other, right? You see a lot of people like this, people that have like a lot of money and they just want to have somebody there, but they don't necessarily want to be in love per se. They don't want to be in a attached relationship, but they like to know that you're there when they come home. Not showing emotion in a situation where emotion is one of the most paramount things, that thing we call love, doesn't really make sense. But I'm not going to pass judgment on someone that says, I don't need to show my emotions in my relationship. I'm just going to do me and they're going to do them. And that's just how we work. More power to you. But as a human being, that connective tissue is important. Being connected is important. We're here to, I always say this on almost all my shows, we are here to connect with one another. And when you have a dismissive, avoiding attachment style, and let me preface this with all of the attachment styles, sometimes it doesn't start off with it being anything that you've done wrong. Okay. A lot of times your attachment styles, or at least your initial attachment styles, comes from when you're a kid. So dismissive avoidance that have become that over time from a kid have parents that speak like this. Stop crying. You'll be all right. Suck it up. Don't worry about telling me how you feel. I get it. Just shut up and go over there and clean up your room. When you don't allow someone to share emotion and you make them see it as something negative, a lot of times that person will grow up into a person that is emotionally detached because they see it as something weak. That's why I said a lot of men fall into this category, and it's tough. It's tough to get out of this category because it's something that you've had your whole life. And that's why I do a lot of shows where I put men on the screen and we talk about how we feel. We talk about therapy. We talk about counseling. We talk about sharing this with other people as a means of therapy, because it's not healthy to keep it all in. It's not. It's something I had to learn. Like not even 5 years ago. Like you got to really think about it. When you choose a partner, that's why the initial attachment style we talked about, secure, it's important for you to at least strive for that, because that allows you to be an open vessel to the person that you claim that you love, especially if you're married and you're supposed to be with that person for the rest of your life, but you can't tell them how you feel. That's like jail. In life, when you can't express yourself, it's like jail. But we build these little cocoons so that we feel safe. But on the inside, there's like this butterfly that needs to come out, that wants to share, that wants to be loved, that wants all of this kind of stuff. And you keep it in. And while you're keeping that in, you're out here dating and being in these situationships. And the whole time you were never emotionally available to even do that. So think about that, guys. Let me check the comments real quick. So from Facebook, I have someone named Bonaventure that says business partners, accomplishment driven, considers the relationship as a business and expects equal commitment. Yeah, that's relative to attachment type. Yeah. So I know people like this. I know people like this. But we're not going to use any names. But I know people like this. And that's a good point, Bonaventure. There are a lot of people who choose their relationships and sit in their relationships as a business deal. There's no emotions or love involved. I know people that are married on this premise, right? And a lot of times these people want a trophy or they want status. Like I know people who search for their partner in marriage based on what their resume says. And when they're in the marriage, there is no predetermined, that we got to be in love. They just want the security of knowing that they got enough money. I know people like that, and I'm sure you guys do too. And they avoid being connected in that emotional way, either out of fear, and they'll just say, well, that's just how I am, deal with it. And especially if you're in a relationship where it's predicated upon money and the other person may be dependent on you, you better shut up. I'm making the money. Sound familiar? I married you because you're a lawyer and I'm a lawyer. But are you really happy on the inside emotionally? Is your heart so turned off that you don't even know how to feel anymore? Just imagine that. A human being with no feelings. Stop it. It may be some inner soul searching you need to do. Now, I'm going to pause again before we go to the last one. Being emotionally available is scary as hell. That's the roller coaster of life. Once you get to the top, you don't even know where it's going to go from there. The only thing that you can guarantee, or at least attempt to do, is become self-aware of who you are, right? That's what this is about. Being self-aware, understanding you. If you understand you and you have love for yourself, you have an ongoing love affair with you, it's hard for people to break you down to the point where you can't get back up again because you love yourself so much. So you're willing to take the risk of being in love or being in a relationship because you know at the end of the day, good or bad, you're going to be all right because you love you. It's going to hurt. We're human, but you're going to be all right. And just this, the fearful avoidant person is, now that I did take a pause, the fearful avoidant is the last one. I'm sorry. And this is a person who they have a fear of being too close and they have a fear of being too far away. This person is confused all the time. This person is also a person who suffers from feeling abandoned by you if you're not close to them. But then when they get too close, they get scared and then they push you away. So it's kind of like a dangerous kind of line that you kind of have to ride with this person because they don't really know where they fit. And this person inside their brain, it's an ongoing state of confusion. And when you live your life like this, and we're just talking about in relationships, they call it fearful for a reason. There's things that you've either grown up feeling or knowing or understanding from how your parents raised you. And then there's the life experience that you have in the dysfunctional relationships that you've been in. And you're afraid of anything that could happen, right? So for an example, we talked about the anxious person, the one that's clingy and they get jealous and they really want this fantasy to work. The fearful person, when they get too close and they feel like they're going to get clingy, they run. This person, when they feel like they're, the secure, the first one we talked about, and they're able to share their emotions. Well, the fearful one fears that if they share their emotions, something's going to blow up. So let me run. But if they run too far away and become a dismissive, avoidant person where they detach emotionally, then they get scared that they won't have the relationship again. So then they run the other way and they just keep trying to figure out where they fit. Now think about this. If you're in a relationship with a person that's like this, that's fearful, If you're the other person, what is it like to deal with this type of person? You don't even know whether they're going to be up or down on a given day. You have no way to expect who you're going to wake up to the next morning. It's tough. So think about it like this, ladies and gentlemen. We just talked about these 4 different attachment styles, right? In terms of who you are. Now think about these attachment styles, and when you meet one of the other ones in real life, and then you two got to fit. You got to make yourself fit with, like, if you're a anxious, preoccupied fantasy relationship person, and you meet someone who's dismissive and emotionally unavailable, when you try to make that work, it's tough. And then you have a decision to make. Do I detach from this so I can get myself together because I don't know if it's me or them, but this is not working? Or do you conform and become something you're not in order to be with somebody? I really need you to catch that. I need you to catch it. I'm going to lean back in my chair and throw it. I need you all to catch that. When you conform in order to meet someone else's dysfunctional attachment style, you no longer become yourself anymore. You're changing into something that's not you. I like to call that jail. Everybody want to get out of jail, don't they? Well, maybe not everybody. Some people have learned to love jail. Not me. So think about that. It's about understanding who you are. And here's the other gift that you can give yourself and your partner. Have these discussions. That's right. You got to talk it out and understand who you're with so you don't waste your time or theirs. So if you are emotionally clingy and you find out that the person that you're dating is a dismissive and they don't want to be emotionally attached, they could change over time, right? To mold to what they probably should have, ride somewhere more in the middle where it's not scary to them, but they're still kind of sharing things, and maybe eventually they'll grow into the person that is secure. But then you got to know yourself enough to know, how long are you willing to wait for them to change? Or do you want to go out and find somebody that's emotionally available the same time you are? I'm not telling you what to do or how to do. I'm telling you to take some time to understand yourself and what you're willing to deal with. And if you're willing to, like I tell a lot of people, you're willing to play Build-A-Bear with somebody that has like the opposite attachment style of you, and you want to try to fix them, that's another danger zone. That's something that you're going to have to take on. And maybe you're cool with that. But Michelle Ford on Facebook says, no jailbird over here, give us free. I want, you got to think about it. When you're in a relationship where you feel free to express yourself, it's nothing like it. It's nothing like it in the world to know that home is a safe haven. It's a place where you have peace and peace of mind, right? I always talk about peace of mind over everything. Bonaventure from Facebook says, unfortunately, more women conform after having a child. Yeah, that's a whole nother show, right? People conform and they'll stay because of the kid. Right? And sometimes we're so emotionally needy to be in a relationship that we don't even know that we don't even realize that we're conforming until it's too late. We change our character and who we are because we want that other person to love us so much that we're not even thinking about, let's do this real quick, because I'm not going to keep y'all too much longer. But I just had a thought. Here's the kicker with this. I just had a thought. let's say you're the dismissive person who is not emotionally available, right? But with your ego, you still want to have somebody on your arm. So you pretend to be emotionally available. Here's the trickery, guys. Just enough to have that person on your arm. And then you go back to who you really are. Because an emotionally unavailable person can't put that mask on for a long time. It's not who you are. Yeah, lovey-dovey person. Oh, he kiss you, hug you, all that. Yeah, oh, come over here, baby. You can't fake that for a long term. There's some people out here that's some good magicians. But by and large, a person who is detached emotionally, and that's how they've been all their lives, it's going to be a struggle for them to be like that for 5 years or 6 months. That's not who they are. I lived that for a couple years, and the person was like, look, this is really not who I am. I'm not even this person that you think I am. So I'm sorry, but I can't give you what you need. I'm like, wait, a year later, a year and a half later, you just telling me now? Stop. It hurts. But most of us see the signs early. Even us, we always talk about women noticing the red flags. Men need to notice them too. We all do. We knew this up front. I was desperate to be in a relationship, so I didn't care about the flags. I didn't care that you wasn't a person that had an attachment style that fit me, right? And once again, I'm going to say this as we start to close. You don't have to stay in one box. Some of us are a couple of these at the same time. We complex people. But it's only one person's job to figure out who you are up front, and that's you. If you figure out who you are, not only can you make more informed decisions about what you're willing to deal with, but now you're able to speak that existence to whoever you're dealing with. I know who I am. This is the type of person I am. What type of person are you? How do you argue? I need to understand who you are, because I'm going to invest my time and my heart. Hold on. Let's do this. A lot of us don't do that. You know why? Because we romanticize the relationship. This person is handsome or cute or beautiful, and they got a good job, and they got their own place, and they treating me nice. No. When it gets bad, what do you normally do? Are you a type of person that has to run away, take some time, come back? Are you the type of person that likes to fight? Right? You're not going to get, the liars are not going to tell you that up front. But like I keep saying, it's a reoccurring theme on my shows. Once you get the answers, you have a baseline by which to match their behavior to. So when they deviate from it, you can call them on it. Because that's their word. It's not some fantasy you made up in your head. That's their word, right? Back in the day, these people, I guess they were from New Jersey. They used to say, word is bond. Your word is your bond. So once you do that verbal contract on who your personality is, now I get to assess that early. So if you say you're not a yeller and a screamer and a cursor, and you start doing that, I got to call. Hey, hold on, that don't make me feel good. That's not what I signed up for. I'm not that type of. That's gonna make me run. So either we gonna fix that, or I can't do it. You know how you can say that early? I can't do this. I gotta go. It's because you love yourself enough to know that you deserve better for yourself. Because somebody else may like to be cursed out. I've met a lot of them too. They love that. Ooh, they love it. Go over. Somebody might like that. Somebody might like that. And like they say, there's somebody for everybody, right? So you don't want to hold them hostage. Somebody else might want to be called out their name. Go ahead and let them release them from that. You got to love you, especially now. People out, it's dating, being single, it's hard. Harder probably than ever. So if dating is hard, I'm going to wrap this up with this nugget of the day. If dating is hard, and it's harder than it probably ever has been, men are different, women are different, everybody's passing blame on both sides and who's wrong and who's right. Then you have younger people saying, I don't even want that. I don't want a committed relationship. I'm good. We don't have marriage. What's that? We're not doing that. I've seen enough of that. When you living in a society like we live in now, it's 10 times more important for you to have understanding of self, because you're going to run into a lot of things that don't belong in your sphere. And you need to own who you are to know how to differentiate where you need to be and not, so that you don't spend time somewhere, especially those of us that are of a certain age. Time means everything, right? It means everything at any age. But when you start getting up there a little bit and you start getting set in your ways and you got your house and you're doing what you got to do in life, you don't want to waste 2 and 3 years. That's 2 and 3 years mean way more than it did when you was 18. Get to know who you are so that you can understand what you're willing to deal with or not. An attachment style, knowing your attachment style. I may do a love language show, or I may do it and save it for the online course, but I'm definitely going to talk about that, knowing what your love language is and how the things that you need to see from the other person to make you feel loved. All of knowing this stuff is gold. Who knew? We didn't know this at 20. But now that you know, and we have the internet and you have therapists and counselors and all this other kind of stuff, being ignorant is no longer the answer you can give. Especially when you got people like me bringing it to you every week. So on that note, guys, I'm going to let you go. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there. Love on your family and your loved ones. And just be good to people, right? And love yourself. And if you haven't figured out how to love yourself, every day, I always tell my daughter this, every day is an opportunity for you to start with a clean slate and grow. You don't have to it's not an indictment to everything that's happened before today. So make that happen, guys. I want you guys to be happy or happier and get it in. So your days are not like worrisome and tumultuous and feeling like this is just who I'm always going to be. No, you can change. You can change. And don't be afraid to ask for help to help you grow and change. Okay? Because somebody might be able to help you with that. Make sure you come back here next week. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I think I'm going to offer something to a couple of you guys for free, because I know we're in this time of COVID and, whatever. I'm going to offer a couple of free services for people, because I know there's a lot of people out here that may be afraid to ask for help. So I'm going to, see who comes on, and at random, I'll pick a couple people. And even if not for yourself, you can gift it to someone else that may need it. And let's just get it done. Let's really take the time to connect with each other, to care about each other, to love each other, especially in this time we in now with everything that's going on. There's hope on the other side of this. You know why? Because you're a part of this equation. You are. Change you first, then your environment around you changes. So on that note, I will see you guys next week, same time, same place. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will catch you next time. Have a great and prosperous day.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derrick Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derrick Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship